Hey everyone, welcome back to Inside Vietnam. Today's story is one that's going to stay with you. It's about a man named Jean-Pierre, a 58-year-old construction worker from the south of France who spent his entire adult life laying foundations and building structures for other people. A quiet man, a proud man, the kind of guy who shows up, does the work, and expects that loyalty and effort speak for themselves. But life had other plans. After a family falling out that left him completely isolated, an unexpected inheritance landed in his lap, more money than he'd ever seen at once. And like a lot of men in his situation, he started looking for a way out, a fresh start. That's when someone mentioned Vietnam. What happened next changed everything. He thought he was building something real. He thought he'd finally found a place where he mattered. But the foundation he was standing on was never solid to begin with. This one's going to stick with you. Here's his story, in his own words. My name is Jean-Pierre. I'm 58 years old. For 32 years, I worked construction in the south of France, Marseille, Toulon, Aix-en-Provence, wherever the work was. You understand, I was not the architect. I was not the foreman with the clipboard. I was the man who poured the concrete, who laid the bricks, who mixed the cement in the heap until my hands were raw and my back was killing me. Every building you see, someone had to do that work. Someone had to make the foundation. That was me. I was good at it. Not because I was special, but because I showed up. Every day, 32 years. You do something that long, it becomes who you are. I did not think about what comes after. I did not need to. The work was always there. Then I turned 56, and the company said, Jean-Pierre, you have done enough. Time to retire. They said it like it was a gift, like I should be grateful. Maybe some men are grateful. Me, I just felt like I walked into a wall. One day you are building things. The next day, nothing. You wake up and there is no site to go to. No crew waiting, no reason to put on your boots, just silence. I did not handle it well. I am not going to pretend otherwise. I spent a lot of time in the bar near my apartment, not drinking too much, you understand. Just sitting, talking to other men who also had nothing to do. We would complain about the government, about the young people, about everything. It filled the time. That is all it did. But the real problem, the thing that broke me, was my family. I have a brother and a sister. We were never close, not really, but we were family. You know how it is. You see each other at holidays, you complain about the same things your parents used to complain about, and that is enough. It was enough. Then my aunt died, my father's sister. She was old. It was not a surprise. What was a surprise was that she left me money. Not my brother, not my sister, me. I do not know why. Maybe because I was the one who visited her when she was sick. Maybe because she felt sorry for me. I do not know. The amount was 110,000 euros. I am not a man who understands big money. I had my pension. I had my small apartment. I did not need much. But 110,000 euros, that is real money. That is life-changing money if you do not have it. My brother and sister, they were furious. They said it was not fair. They said I must have manipulated her. They said things I will not repeat. I tried to explain that I did not ask for it, that I did not even know it was coming, but they did not want to hear it. My sister stopped answering my calls. My brother sent me one message, very cold, very final, and that was it. Then my children got involved. I have two, a son and a daughter, both in their 30s now. I was not the best father, I will admit that. I worked too much. I was not home enough. Their mother and I, we divorced when they were young. But I thought we were okay. I thought we had an understanding. Then this thing with the inheritance happened, and suddenly they were taking sides. They believed my brother and sister. They believed I had done something wrong. They stopped calling. They stopped visiting. I tried. I sent messages. I called. Nothing. It was like I disappeared. You want to know the worst part? One, still do not understand what I did wrong. I did not ask for the money. I did not scheme. I just showed up when my aunt needed someone, the same way I showed up to work every day for 32 years. But somehow, that made me the bad guy. So there I was. 58 years old, retired, alone, and sitting on 110,000 euros that I did not know what to do with. Every time I looked at that number in my account, I felt sick. It was supposed to mean something. It was supposed to be freedom, or security, or I do not know what. Instead, it just sat there, reminding me that I had no one to share it with. I spent almost 2 years like that, going to the bar, sitting in my apartment, watching television, waiting for the phone to ring. It never did. Then one evening, I was at the bar, same as always, and this guy I barely knew started talking about Vietnam. His name was Michel. He had been there twice. He was telling everyone how cheap it was, how beautiful, how the women actually liked older men. He said you could live like a king on a pension. He said the weather was warm all year. He said it was easy. I was not really listening at first. But then he said something that stayed with me. He said, "Jean-Pierre, what are you doing here? You have no wife, no family calling you. Why are you sitting in this gray place when you could be somewhere warm?" It was not a complicated question, but I did not have an answer. That night, I went home and I looked up Vietnam on my computer. I am not good with technology, but I know how to search. I saw pictures of Saigon, of the beaches, of the street markets. I saw articles about expats living there. I saw the cost of rent, of food, of everything. Michael was right. My pension and my savings, they would go much further there than in France. I did not think about it for very long. Maybe a week, maybe less. I just thought, why not? What is keeping me here? My family does not want me. My friends are just other lonely men at the bar. I have no reason to stay. So I bought a ticket. One way to Ho Chi Minh City. I did not tell anyone. I did not make a plan. I just went. I did not go to Vietnam because I wanted an adventure. I am not that kind of man. I went because there was nowhere left to stay. Does that make sense? I was not running towards something. I was running away from nothing. The flight was long, 14 hours with a stopover. I do not sleep on planes. I just sat there, thinking. What am I doing? What am I going to do when I get there? I did not have answers. But I also did not turn back. When the plane started descending into Saigon, I looked out the window and saw the city below. It was huge. Endless. I had never been anywhere like it. I remember thinking, Jean-Pierre, you have made a very stupid decision. But it was too late. The wheels were already touching the ground. The heat hit me the moment I stepped off the plane. Not like summer heat in Marseille. This was different. T. Thick. Wet. Like walking into a wall of steam. I could feel it in my lungs. I remember thinking, what have you done, Jean-Pierre? The airport was chaos. People everywhere, signs in Vietnamese I could not read, announcements I could not understand. My English is not good. I can say hello, thank you, how much? That is about it. So I just followed the crowd and hoped I was going the right way. Getting through immigration took forever. The officer looked at my passport, looked at me, asked me something in English. I did not understand. I just nodded. He stamped it and waved me through. Outside, the taxi drivers swarmed, grabbing at my bag, shouting prices. I had written down the name of a guest house in District 3 on a piece of paper. Some place I found online, cheap. I showed the paper to a driver and he nodded. We got in the car. The drive into the city, I will never forget it. Motorbikes everywhere, thousands of them, weaving between cars, up on the sidewalks, going the wrong way. I thought we were going to hit someone every 30 seconds. The driver did not seem to care. He just honked and kept going. Everyone honked, constantly. The noise was unbelievable. And the smell. Exhaust mixed with something cooking, something sweet, something rotten, all at once. Through the window, I saw street vendors with carts, buildings covered in wires, laundry hanging from balconies. Everything felt too close, too loud, too much. I thought, you have made a terrible mistake. The guest house was down a narrow alley off a main street, 3 floors, painted yellow, bars on the windows. The owner was a small Vietnamese woman who spoke a little French, thank God. She showed me to a room on the 2nd floor. It was tiny. A bed, a fan, a bathroom the size of a closet. But it was clean. And it was cheap. 200,000 dong a night. About €8. In France, that would not even buy you a coffee and a croissant. I sat on the bed, and I did not move for maybe an hour. Just sat there, listening to the noise outside. Motorbikes, someone shouting, music from somewhere. I felt completely lost, completely alone. And for the first time since I got on that plane, I let myself think, what now? I did not have an answer. The first few days were hard. I am not going to lie about that. I did not know where anything was. I did not know how to order food. I did not know how much things should cost. Every time I left the guest house, I felt like everyone was staring at me. The big French guy who does not belong here. But slowly, things started to make sense. Or maybe I just stopped caring that they did not make sense. I found a rental apartment through the guest house owner, still in District 3. A one-bedroom on the fourth floor of an old building, no elevator. 4 million dong a month. About 150 euros, nothing fancy, but it had air conditioning and a little balcony where I could sit and watch the street below. I took it, then I bought a motorbike, a little Honda scooter, used, beat up. 3 million dong. About 110 euros. The guy I bought it from showed me how to start it, how to brake, and that was it. He did not ask if I knew how to drive, he just took my money and walked away. Learning to ride in Saigon traffic. That was something. The first time I pulled out into the street, I almost got hit by 3 motorbikes and a taxi. But I figured it out. You just go. You do not stop. You do not hesitate. If you hesitate, you die. After a week, I was riding like everyone else. Honking, weaving, ignoring the traffic lights. It felt good. Like I was part of the city instead of just watching it. I started to explore. District 3 is not touristy. It is just normal life. Markets, coffee shops, repair stalls, people selling fruit from baskets. I would ride around for hours with no destination. Just looking. Trying to figure out how this place worked. The food. I loved the food. I am not a complicated eater. I like simple things. In Vietnam, the street food is incredible. I would stop at a pho stall in the morning, sit on one of those tiny plastic stools, eat a bowl of soup with noodles and beef for 30,000 dong. 1 euro. 1 euro for a meal that filled me up and tasted better than anything I was eating in France. Banh mi from a cart. Com tom with grilled pork. Café soda, the iced coffee with condensed milk that is so sweet it makes your teeth hurt. I ate well. I ate cheap. And for the first time in years, I was not thinking about money. Not because I had so much, but because everything cost so little. I was spending, yes, more than I needed to, probably. But it felt good. It felt easy. In France, every time I bought something, I would think about the price, calculate if it was worth it, worry about the pension. Here, I just paid. Dinner at a nice restaurant, 200,000 dong, 7 euros. A new shirt from the market, 150,000, 5 euros. It was nothing. The money in my account barely moved. Looking back now, that was the first warning sign I missed. Not the spending itself, but how easy it felt, how invisible. When money feels like it does not matter, that is when you stop paying attention to where it goes. By the end of the first month, I had settled into a routine. Mornings I would get coffee at a little place near my apartment. The owner, an old man with no teeth, he remembered my order after the third day. Sao fait soi. Da, no ice. We did not talk. He did not speak French. I did not speak Vietnamese. But he would nod when I came in, and I would nod back, and that was enough. Afternoons I would ride, sometimes to the park, sometimes to the market, sometimes just around, no plan. I liked the randomness of it. I liked not having to be anywhere. Evenings I would find a place to eat. Then I would come back to my apartment, sit on the balcony, and watch the street. The motorbikes going by. The vendors setting up for the night shift. The neon signs flickering on. It was peaceful in a way I did not expect. Not quiet, never quiet, but peaceful. And the best part, the part one did not realize how much I needed, was that nobody here knew me. Nobody knew about my family. Nobody knew about the inheritance. Nobody knew anything. I could just be Jean-Pierre, the French guy who lives on the fourth floor. That was all. For the first time since I retired, since my family left, since everything fell apart, I was not being reminded of what I lost every time I opened my eyes. Vietnam did not remind me of my brother. It did not remind me of my children. It did not remind me of my empty apartment in France. It felt like the first place that did not carry the weight of everything I had failed at. I was not happy, exactly, but I was not miserable either. I was just existing, day to day, no plan, no pressure. And after 2 years of sitting in that bar in France, waiting for a phone that never rang, that felt like enough. There was a cafe I started going to in the evenings. Just a small place, open to the street, plastic chairs and metal tables. They made good café soda, and the Wi-Fi was decent. I would sit there for an hour or two, watching people, checking my phone for messages that never came. It became my spot. The staff recognized me. They would bring my coffee without me asking. I did not know it then. But that cafe, that little spot in District 3 where I felt like maybe I was building some kind of routine, some kind of life, that was where everything was about to change. I met her on a Tuesday evening. I remember because Tuesdays the cafe was always quieter. Less students on their laptops, more space to breathe. Her name was Lynn. She came in around 6, ordered a café soda, and sat at the table next to mine. She was wearing jeans and a white blouse. Simple, pretty. She had her phone out, scrolling, but not in that obsessive way some people do. Just casual. I did not plan to talk to her. I am not that kind of man. I do not approach women in cafes. But she dropped her phone and it slid across the floor toward my chair. I picked it up, handed it to her. She smiled and said, "Thank you," in English. I said, "De rien, you are welcome." My accent is terrible, but she laughed. Not mean, just warm. She asked if I was French. I said yes. She said she liked French movies. I told her I did not watch many movies. She laughed again. We kept talking. Her English was good. Better than mine, anyway. She worked at a beauty salon 2 streets over. She had lived in Saigon her whole life. She asked where I was from, what I was doing here. I told her the simple version, retired. Needed a change. She did not push for details. That first conversation, maybe 20 minutes. Then her friend showed up and they left together. But before she went, she asked if I came to the cafe often. I said yes, most evenings. She said, "Maybe I see you again then." And she did. She came back 2 days later. Same time. We talked again. This time longer. She told me about her family, her mother, her younger sister, her father who was not well. I told her a little about France, about construction work. She seemed interested. Actually interested. Not just nodding politely. The third time we talked, I asked if she wanted to get dinner. Somewhere nearby. She said yes. We went to a little place she knew, a bun shaw spot. You sit on plastic stools, the grill is right there in front of you, smoke everywhere. The food was incredible. Pork and noodles and herbs, everything fresh. I tried to pay, and she let me. But she did not make a big deal about it. She just said thank you. After that, we started seeing each other regularly. A few times a week at first, then almost every day. She would finish work, we would meet, we would walk around District 3 or sit somewhere and talk. I liked being with her. She was easy to be around. She did not demand anything. She just seemed happy to spend time with me. Looking back now, I can see how carefully it was done. But at the time, it felt natural. It felt real. About 2 weeks in, she asked about my life in France. Why I left? I told her the truth. The family falling out. The loneliness. The inheritance that felt like a curse. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she said something I will never forget. She said, "I understand that feeling. When you work so hard and nobody sees it." I felt something shift in my chest, like she understood me in a way nobody had in years. A week later, she said she wanted to build a life, not just live day to day. She said too many people in Vietnam just survive. They do not plan, they do not think about the future. She said she wanted something different. She wanted to make something. That word, make something, build something. It hit me like a hammer. That is what I did my whole life. I built things. And here was this woman, 29 years old, saying she wanted the same thing. I thought, Jean-Pierre, maybe this is why you came here. Maybe this is the reason. I know how it sounds now. I know. But you have to understand, I was alone for so long. And suddenly someone was seeing me. Not my mistakes, not my failures, just me. By the end of the second month, she was staying at my apartment a few nights a week. Then most nights. Then all nights. I did not ask her to move in. It just happened. One day I realized her clothes were in my closet. Her shampoo was in the bathroom, and it felt like she had always been there. I should have questioned it. 6 weeks is fast, I know that. But at the time, it did not feel fast. It felt like something clicking into place, like a joint fitting perfectly into a frame. I am a builder. I know when something is solid. And this felt solid. The first time her mother came to visit, I was nervous. I wanted to make a good impression. Her mother was small, maybe 50 years old, very polite. She brought fruit. We sat in my little living room, and she smiled a lot, even though she did not speak any English or French. Lynn translated. Her mother said, I seemed like a good man. She said Lynn was lucky. I felt proud. Stupid, I know. But I felt proud. Her sister came a week later. Younger, maybe 25. Same warm smile. She brought some kind of cake. We all sat together and ate, and Lynn translated, and everyone laughed. It felt like family, like I was part of something again. They started coming more often, once a week, then twice a week, always friendly, always bringing something small. A gift, some food, and I would make tea or buy snacks from the market downstairs, and we would all sit together. I liked it. I will not lie about that. I liked being the man who provided the space, who welcomed people. I liked feeling useful again. The first hint of money came casual. Lynn mentioned her mother needed to fix the roof on her house. Just mentioned it. I asked how much. She said maybe 3 million dong, about 100 euros. I offered to help. She said no, it is okay. But I insisted. I transferred the money that evening. She hugged me. She said I was too kind. It felt good. It felt like I was doing the right thing. Another time, her sister needed money for a motorbike repair. 1.5 million dong, 50 euros. I gave it without thinking. It was nothing. Less than a dinner in France. Looking back, that is when it started. Not with a big ask. Not with pressure. Just small things. Little needs. And every time I helped, the gratitude was enormous. Lynn would thank me. Her family would thank me. I felt needed. I felt like I mattered. One evening, maybe 6 weeks after we met, Lynn and I were sitting on my balcony. The street below was loud as always. Motorbikes, vendors, someone singing karaoke badly from a bar down the block. She was quiet for a while. Then she said, "Jean-Pierre, do you ever think about the future?" I said, "What kind of future?" She said, "Our future." "Do you see yourself staying here?" I told her honestly. "I do not know. I have no reason to go back to France. So maybe yes." She smiled. She said, "I hope you stay." Then she said, "I have been thinking, maybe we should do something together, something real, not just living day to day." I asked what she meant. She said, "I do not know yet, but I want to build something with you. A life. Not just existing." That word again. Build. I remember sitting there, looking at her, and thinking, Jean-Pierre, you are 58 years old. You thought your life was over. And now you are sitting here with a woman who wants to build something with you. I was happy. For the first time in years, I was genuinely happy. But underneath that happiness, there was a small voice. Quiet. Almost too quiet to hear. It said, "Jean-Pierre, this is too good. This is too easy. Be careful." I ignored it. By the time we hit the 3rd month, her family was visiting 2 or 3 times a week. Always warm. Always grateful. But I started noticing something. Every visit, there was a need. Not always money. Sometimes just help with something. A translation. A ride somewhere. Always something. And Lynn, she was wonderful, attentive, affectionate. But she never asked about my life back in France. Never asked about my children. Never asked about the family I lost. When I brought it up, she would listen politely, but she never seemed curious. I told myself it was a language thing, or a cultural thing. I told myself it did not matter. But the small voice was getting louder. Living with Lynn was easy, too easy maybe. That should have been the first real warning. She would wake up early, make coffee, leave it on the counter for me before she went to work. I would sit on the balcony, drink it, watch the street come alive, vendors setting up, motorbikes filling the roads. The smell of pho from the stall downstairs, mixing with exhaust and heat. When I came back to the apartment in the evening, she was usually already there, cooking, or just sitting on the couch with her phone. We would eat together, simple meals, rice, vegetables, pork, or chicken. Sometimes we would go out, walk around the neighborhood, sit at a cafe. It was comfortable, domestic, normal. For the first time since I retired, I had a routine that felt like it mattered. Her family kept visiting, 2, 3 times a week now, always bringing something small, fruit, sweets. Once her mother brought a clay pot she said was for cooking soup. I did not need a clay pot, but I thanked her anyway. They would sit in my living room, talking in Vietnamese, laughing. Lynn would translate bits and pieces, but mostly I just smiled and nodded. I liked having them around. It reminded me of what a family was supposed to feel like. Warm, loud, present. One evening, about 3 weeks after Lynn moved in, she was quiet. We had just finished eating, some kind of noodle dish she made. It was good. I was washing the plates when I noticed she was just sitting there, staring at her phone, not scrolling, just staring. I asked if something was wrong. She looked up. Her eyes were red. She said, "It is my father." I sat down. I asked what happened. She said he had been sick for a while. Diabetes, high blood pressure. The kind of thing that gets worse if you do not take care of it. He had gone to the hospital that morning. The doctors said he needed treatment, medication, maybe more tests. But it was expensive. Her family did not have the money. I asked how much. She hesitated. Then she said, maybe 450 million dong, around $18,000. I will be honest with you, $18,000 is a lot of money. In France, that is real money. But when I thought about the 110,000 euros sitting in my account, it did not feel that big. It felt manageable. It felt like something I could fix. I told her, do not worry, I will help. She looked at me like she did not understand. She said, Jean-Pierre, that is too much. I cannot ask you for that. I said, you are not asking, I am offering. This is what you do for the people you care about. She started crying, not loud, just quiet tears. She said, nobody has ever done something like this for my family. Nobody. That sentence. I will never forget it. Nobody has ever done something like this for my family. It hit me right in the chest, because that was exactly how I felt. Like nobody had ever done anything for me either. And here I was, finally in a position to be the person who helps. The person who matters. I transferred the money the next day. 450 million dong, $18,000. Lynn went to the bank, withdrew it in cash, brought it to her mother. I did not go with her. She said it was better if she handled it. Family business. When she came back that evening, she was smiling. She hugged me. She said her father was going to start treatment. She said I saved his life. I felt good. I'm not going to lie about that. I felt like I had done something important, something real. Looking back now, I can see how carefully it was done. The timing, the amount, just big enough to feel significant, but not big enough to make me panic, and the gratitude. God, the gratitude was overwhelming. It made me feel like a hero. The weeks after that, everything got better. Lynn was more affectionate, more attentive. She would hold my hand when we walked. She would ask me how my day was. Even though my days were all the same, she made me feel seen. Her family started treating me differently too. Her mother would hug me when she visited. Her sister would bring me little gifts. A shirt from the market, a hat. Nothing expensive, but it felt like acceptance. Like I was part of something. One was not just Jean-Pierre anymore. I was Lynn's partner, her family's benefactor, the man who stepped up when it mattered. For a man who spent 2 years being invisible, that feeling was intoxicating. About a month after I gave them the money, Lynn and I were sitting on the balcony one evening. It was late. The street was quieter than usual. Just the hum of motorbikes in the distance, and the sound of someone's television through an open window. She was leaning against me, her head on my shoulder. She said, Jean-Pierre, can I ask you something? I said, of course. She said, do you ever think about having something permanent here? Something that is yours? I did not understand at first. I asked what she meant. She said, like a place, an apartment. Something we could own together, not just renting. I told her I had not really thought about it. I said, I like where we are. It is cheap. It works. She nodded. She said, I know. But renting, you are just giving money away every month. If we buy something, it is an investment. It is ours. I asked if she was thinking about moving. She said, not now, but maybe someday. I just think about the future sometimes, about building something real, not just living month to month. There was that word again, building. She said, I do not want to just exist, Jean-Pierre. I want to make something, with you. I sat there, listening to her, and I felt something shift. This was not just about us living together. This was about a future, a plan, something solid. I told her I would think about it. She smiled. She said, no pressure. I just wanted you to know what I am thinking. Then she kissed me and went inside. I stayed on the balcony for a while after that, smoking a cigarette, thinking. An apartment, an investment, something permanent. Part of me liked the idea. It made sense. I had the money. Why not use it for something real, something that would last? But another part of me, the small voice that had been getting louder, said, Jean-Pierre, slow down. You've been here 3 months. You barely know this country. You barely know her. I ignored it. Because the truth is, I wanted to believe her. I wanted to believe that this was real. That I was not just a lonely old man who got lucky. That I was building something that mattered. The number in my bank account did not feel real to me. It was just digits. But Lynn, her family, the life we were starting to build, that felt real. So I told myself, Jean-Pierre, you spent 32 years being careful, being responsible. And where did it get you? Alone in a bar in France, waiting for a phone that never rang. Maybe it is time to take a risk. Maybe it is time to build something for yourself. I did not know it then, but that was the moment I crossed the line. The moment I stopped being careful and started being reckless. The foundation I thought I was building was already starting to crack. I just could not see it yet. The apartment conversation started casual. Like everything else, it felt natural at the time. About a week after Lynn first mentioned it, she brought it up again. We were eating dinner. Calm tam from a street stall near the apartment. Broken rice with grilled pork, pickled vegetables, fish sauce. Simple. Good, she said. I have been looking at apartments. Just looking. There is one in District 7. Small. 1 bedroom, but new. Clean. Good building. I asked how much. She said, 850 million dong, around $35,000. I did the math in my head. I had given her 18,000 for her father. Add rent, food, spending money over the past few months, maybe another 8 or 9,000. That left me with around 85,000. 35,000 for an apartment would leave me with 50. Still enough. Still comfortable. I asked why District 7. She said it was a good area. Growing. Lots of new development. Close to the Phu-My-Hung neighborhood where the expats lived. She said property values were going up. She said if we bought now, in a few years it would be worth more. I told her I would think about it. She smiled. She said, I know it is a lot, but I think it is smart. We build something real, Jean-Pierre, not just paying rent to someone else. That word again. Build. 2 days later, she said her friend worked at a real estate office. She could arrange a viewing if I wanted. No pressure, just to see. I said okay. The apartment was in a tower block, 12 floors. The unit was on the 8th floor. It smelled like fresh paint. The floors were tile. White walls. A small balcony overlooking other apartment blocks. You could see the Saigon River in the distance if you leaned out far enough. Lynn walked through the rooms, pointing things out. The kitchen was small but functional. The bathroom had a good shower. The bedroom had space for a bed and a wardrobe. She was excited. I could see it in her face. She said, imagine us here. Our place not a rental, ours. I stood on the balcony, looking out at the city. And I thought, Jean-Pierre, you spent your whole life building things for other people. Why not build something for yourself? The paperwork was complicated. Or at least, Lynn said it was complicated. She explained that foreigners could not own property in Vietnam, not directly. There were exceptions for certain types of buildings, certain permits, but it was easier to just put it in her name. She said it was normal. She said every expat with a Vietnamese partner did it this way. I asked if there was a way to protect myself, a contract or something. She looked hurt. She said, Jean-Pierre, this is for us. You do not trust me. I told her it was not about trust. It was just practical, legal. She said, we can write something if you want, but it does not mean anything under Vietnamese law anyway. The apartment will be in my name. That is just how it works here. I believed her, because it was partially true. I know that now. Foreigners do have restrictions on property ownership, but there were ways, legal ways. I just did not know them. And I did not look for them. Because I wanted to believe her, I transferred 850 million dong, $35,000. The money left my account on a Tuesday afternoon. Lynn handled everything. The bank, the paperwork, the real estate office. She said it was easier if she did it. Less confusing. I never saw the final documents. She said they were being processed. She said it would take a few weeks. She said not to worry. I should have worried. For a few weeks after that, everything was good. Better than good. Lynn was happy. Her family was happy. We talked about moving into the apartment soon. She said we needed to buy furniture first. A bed, a couch, a table. I gave her money for that too. 5 million dong here, 10 million there. It added up, but I did not care. We were building something. Then she brought up the cafe. It was maybe a month after we bought the apartment. We were sitting at a coffee shop in District 1, one of the nicer places. Air-conditioned, Western-style chairs instead of plastic stools. She had been quiet all morning. I asked what was wrong. She said, I have been thinking about my future, about what I want to do. I told her, you work at the salon. That is good work. She said, yes, but it is not mine. I work for someone else. I make their money. I want something that is mine. I asked what she had in mind. She said, a cafe, small, just a few tables. Somewhere people can come for good coffee, good food. I know how to run it. I have ideas. But I need money to start. I asked how much. She said, maybe 650 million dong, around $28,000. For the lease, the equipment, the initial stock. She said she had been researching it. She said she knew a location in District 3. Good foot traffic, cheap rent. I sat there, drinking my café soda, doing the math. 35,000 for the apartment, 28,000 for the cafe. That was 63,000 total. Add the 18,000 for her father, plus living expenses. I was at around 83,000 spent. I had started with 120,000. That left me with 37,000. It was more than half my money gone. But I told myself it was invested. The apartment would appreciate. The cafe would make money. This was not loss. This was building. I told her I would do it. She hugged me. She said, Jean-Pierre, you are making my dream come true. And I felt good. I felt like I was doing something important, something real. The money for the cafe left my account in 2 installments. 15,000 for the lease and equipment. Then another 13,000 for stock and permits and things I did not fully understand. Lynn handled it all. She said it was easier that way. She knew the vendors. She knew the system. I never saw the cafe, not the location, not the lease, not anything. She said it was not ready yet. She said there were delays, permits taking longer than expected, the landlord being difficult, always something, but her family kept visiting 2, 3 times a week, sometimes more. And every visit, there was something. Her sister needed money for a medical bill. Her mother needed help fixing the motorbike. Her cousin needed to borrow money for a wedding. Always small amounts, 2 million dong here, 5 million there, but it added up. I started noticing things, small things. Lynn was on her phone more, a lot more. She would be in the bathroom for 20 minutes, texting, or she would step out onto the balcony to take a call. When I asked who it was, she would say, just my sister, just my mother, just a friend from work. She stopped asking about my day. She stopped asking about my life. When I tried to talk about France, about my past, she would nod politely and change the subject. The apartment documents never came. Every time I asked, she said, they are processing it. It takes time. Do not worry. I wanted to not worry. I wanted to believe her. By the end of the 6th month, I had around $30,000 left. I had spent $83,000 in 6 months. That is almost $14,000 a month. For a man who spent his whole life being careful with money, that should have terrified me. But I kept telling myself it was investment. I kept telling myself I was building something. One evening, maybe mid-month 6, Lynn told me she needed more money for the cafe. Another 5,000. The equipment cost more than expected. The supplier raised prices. Something. I do not even remember the excuse anymore. I said, Lynn, when can I see this cafe? When does it open? She said, soon. Maybe another month. There are just some delays. I said, I want to see the paperwork, the lease, the permits, something. She got defensive. She said, you do not trust me. I said, it is not about trust. I just want to see what we are investing in. She said, Jean-Pierre, I am doing this for us. Why are you making it difficult? I backed down. Because I did not want to fight. Because I did not want to lose her. But for the first time, I felt it. A cold feeling in my stomach. Small. Quiet. But there. A week later, I asked about the apartment documents again. She got annoyed. She said, why do you keep asking? They will come when they come. I said, it has been 2 months. How long does it take? She said, this is Vietnam. Everything takes time. You do not understand how things work here. And maybe I did not. But I understood enough to know that something was wrong. I started looking at my bank account more carefully. The numbers did not lie. 30,000 left, 90,000 gone. And for what? An apartment I had never seen the paperwork for. A cafe that did not exist yet. A family that always needed more. I sat on the balcony one night, smoking, and I thought, Jean-Pierre, you are being paranoid. She loves you. You are building a life together. This is normal. This is what investment looks like. But the cold feeling would not go away. The first few days after she left, I did not do much. I just sat in the apartment. The same apartment where we had lived together for months. Her clothes were gone, her shampoo was gone, the little things she kept on the counter, all gone. It was like she had never been there. I kept checking my phone, waiting for another message. An explanation, something. Nothing came. I did not eat much. I did not sleep well. I would lie in bed at night, staring at the ceiling, listening to the motorbikes outside, and I would think, Jean-Pierre, you are a fool. A stupid, lonely fool. The anger came in waves, not at her, at myself, for believing it, for ignoring every warning sign, for thinking that money could buy me a family. After about a week, I forced myself to take stock. I sat down with my bank statements and I added it all up. 18,000 for her father, 35,000 for the apartment, 28,000 for the cafe, another 10,000 in smaller amounts. Family emergencies, repairs, gifts, living expenses that somehow always went through her. $91,000, gone. I had 22,000 left. From 110,000 euros, I had $22,000 remaining. The apartment did not exist. Not for me, anyway. The cafe never existed at all. Her father, maybe he was sick, maybe he was not. I will never know. I sat there looking at those numbers, and I felt empty, not angry anymore, just empty. I thought about going back to France. But what was I going back to? An empty apartment, a family that did not want me, a bar full of old men with nothing to do. At least here, nobody knew what I had lost. At least here, I could start over quietly. Laurent helped me find a cheaper place. A studio in District 5. 2.5 million dong a month, about $100. Smaller than the apartment I had been renting. No balcony, but clean, functional, enough. I sold the motorbike. I did not need it anymore. I started walking more, taking the bus, eating street food instead of restaurants, living the way I should have been living from the beginning. Laurent introduced me to a few other expats, men who had been through similar things, not all of them with women. Some lost money in business deals. Some got scammed by landlords. Some just made bad decisions and had to live with it. We would meet for coffee sometimes. Cheap coffee. Café Suada at a street stall. We did not talk about it much. We did not need to. We understood. The hardest part was not the money. I know that sounds strange. $91,000 is a lot of money. But the hardest part was realizing that the loneliness that made me vulnerable, the loneliness that made me believe her, that loneliness was still there. Nothing about Vietnam fixed that. The money did not fix it. Lynn did not fix it. I was just as alone as I had been in France. I had just paid a lot of money to learn that lesson. I think about my family sometimes, my brother, my sister, my children. I wonder if they ever think about me. I doubt it. And that is okay. I made my choices. They made theirs. We are all living with it. I am still here in Vietnam. I have been here almost a year and a half now. I live modestly. I work a little, teaching French to a few students. It does not pay much, but it gives me something to do. I walk a lot. I sit in cafes. I watch the city move around me. I do not date. I do not look for companionship. I learned that lesson. People ask me sometimes, do you regret coming to Vietnam? And the answer is no. I do not regret it. I regret what I did here. I regret how easily I believed. I regret not asking the hard questions. But I do not regret leaving France. There was nothing left for me there. What I learned, and this is what I want you to understand, is that loneliness makes you stupid. It makes you believe things you would never believe otherwise. It makes you ignore red flags that are so obvious in hindsight. When you are desperate to feel wanted, to feel needed, to feel like you matter to someone, you will do almost anything. You will give almost anything. I spent a lifetime building foundations for other people, pouring concrete, laying bricks, making sure everything was solid, everything was level, everything was right. The one time I tried to build a foundation for myself, I did not even check if the ground was solid. I just started pouring, and it all collapsed. If you were thinking about coming to Vietnam, or Thailand, or the Philippines, or anywhere because you are lonely, because you think a young woman is going to fix that loneliness, listen to me. She is not. Money will not fix it. A new country will not fix it. You have to fix it yourself first. Otherwise, you are just bringing your problems somewhere warmer. I am not bitter. I am not angry at Lynn. She saw an opportunity and she took it. That is how the world works. I was the one who made it easy. I was the one who ignored every warning. That is on me. I am 59 now. I have maybe 20 years left if I am lucky. I am going to spend them carefully, quietly. I am not building anything anymore. I am just living, day by day, and that is enough. That is my story. Make of it what you will. Jean-Pierre's voice fades, and there's a brief silence before the host returns. Thanks, Jean-Pierre. I know that wasn't easy to share. Look, if you've been watching Inside Vietnam for a while, you've heard variations of this story before. The details change. The amounts change. Sometimes it's an apartment, sometimes it's a business, sometimes it's a water buffalo farm. But the pattern is always the same. Loneliness, trust, money, and then nothing. What makes Jean-Pierre's story important is how honest he is about his own role in it. He's not blaming Vietnam. He's not blaming Lynn. He's saying, I made these choices. I ignored the warnings. And that takes courage. Here are the signs to watch for, because they're always the same. The relationship moves too fast. The family is immediately involved and immediately has needs. There's always a financial emergency. The paperwork is always delayed. You never see proof of what your money is actually buying. And when you start asking questions, you get deflected, you get guilt-tripped, or you get accused of not trusting. If you're seeing these signs, you're not being paranoid. You're being smart. Vietnam is a beautiful country. The people here are warm, the culture is rich, and yes, genuine relationships between expats and locals absolutely happen. But if you come here wounded, if you come here desperate, if you come here thinking money can buy you the connection you've been missing, you're going to get hurt. That's not unique to Vietnam. That's just human nature. Take care of yourselves out there. And if you found this story valuable, hit that subscribe button. We're here every week with more stories from inside Vietnam. Thanks for watching.